Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you may be in the world. And welcome to 10 Steps to Becoming a PMP, a Project Management Professional. Welcome. My name is Cornelius Fichtner, and thank you very much for joining me today here. I have been a PMP trainer since about 2007, 2008 or so. Hello. And today's presentation is all about how you can also become a PMP. I have 10 steps for you there. I'm actually lying. I have 11 steps, but we'll get to that in just a moment there. Before we do that, here are the learning objectives for today's webinar. At the end of this webinar, I want you to be able to list and understand the steps that it takes for you to prepare for the PMP exam. And I also want you to be able to describe what I call the key to success for the PMP exam. And we're going to take a look at that literally as the second item on our agenda today. And talking about the agenda, here it is. This is what we are going to be looking at today. We'll start with a quick introduction. Don't worry, just about a minute or so. Then, as promised, I want you to have an immediate takeaway. That is the key to success. Then we're going to go through the 10 steps one by one. And at the end, I am going to review the key to success with you again. So in the takeaway, I explain what the key to success is. And at the end, I'm going to show you, okay, how do you apply the key to success to your PMP exam prep? Talk a bit about a few freebies that I have for you there. And during the presentation, I'm also going to put in 2021 lessons learned. I've looked at a lot of lessons learned from people, and I am going to interject those into the presentation to help you there. And as I said, I lied a little bit because this presentation really contains 11 steps to becoming a PMP. But most people, as they are preparing for the PMP exam, they don't really worry too much about the 11th step. But I want to introduce it to you anyway. Okay, so the next thing I want to mention is this here. Please do use the chat as we are going through this presentation. This is interactive. A couple of people have already used the chat. Here's Kasim Abbas. Hello and welcome back. Hi, Kasim. We have Nixon Jovin, who's joining us as well today. Hello to both of you. So if you have a question about any of the steps about the PMP exam in general, please do post it in the chat. I'll be happy to bring them up, like I've just brought up the other two. And here we have Aman Surve as well, who says hello, and I'll answer them right here live. And if I can't get to it, then we will do our best to answer your question offline, answer in the chat, send you an email, however we can do this. We even have people joining us from Johannesburg. Cor is here. And Cor, may I ask, is Cor short for Cornelius by chance there? Let me know just to understand. Mohammed is also here. So we have a good crowd already here today. But now let us get started. By way of introduction, here is how this presentation got started. When I prepared for the PMP exam, I was totally frustrated because, I got misleading information, contradicting information. Nobody really was telling me how I had to prepare for the PMP exam. And so instead of giving you frustration, I decided, okay, I need to create an actionable roadmap, a roadmap that you can follow instead of being frustrated. Okay, and here we go. These are the 10 steps that we are going to take a look at today. And as you can see, these are all actionable items, things that you can do step by step. Follow along, and in the end, you will come out at the other side with PMP behind your name. And talking about actionable items and action items, I do have a handout for this presentation here, and I will let you know at the end of the presentation where you can download it. But if you registered for this webinar on our website and you gave us your username, or rather your name and your email address, then we'll actually send this to you at the end of the webinar as well. But if you didn't register with username, email address, then you'll have to download it yourself. But it's a simple link. It's a simple link that you can join. Here we have the answer from Core. My dad was a Cornelius. He gave me the acronym. Well, welcome again, Core. Pleasure to have you here. We have more people from the USA, Bangladesh, Connecticut. Somebody must be night for you, Joe, if you say you are sleepy. And then Johan is joining us from South Africa as well. Thank you. Now, as promised, the key to success. Here we go. So in addition to studying the materials that you need to know for your exam, you have to practice and apply your new knowledge to PMP exam sample questions. That is the key to success. You need PMP exam sample questions, but not just any type of exam sample questions. They have to be professionally developed, and they must be based on the most current exam specifications. That is because, you can go to Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatever you use, and use free questions you find on the internet. But how good are they really? How up to date are they? So it's really a question of, professionally developed questions. Please, if you take only one thing away from today, this is it. In order to pass your PMP exam, you have to practice using professionally developed PMP exam sample questions. And now, Joe, since you are already sleepy, if you want to just leave the presentation with this takeaway, feel free to say goodnight to all of us, and we'll accept that, because this is really the most important statement that I have for you. But now, let's move on. But before we go into step one, I want, as promised, give you a lessons learned from 2021 as well. This one here, there was a question that referenced personality indicators. I never saw anything about this tool in any of my studying. You may be wondering, why on earth is Cornelius giving us this lessons learned as the first lessons learned? Well, this has to do with our first step. Let's take another look at it. So this is something that this person, as they took the PMP exam, didn't know. They didn't understand what a personality indicator was. They said, why is this on the exam? I never heard anything about this in my studies. Well, step one is all about making sure that you know what's going to be on the exam. Step one, I want you to download the PMP handbook, and I want you to download the PMP exam content outline. Okay, so what are these two documents? The PMP handbook answers the question, are you eligible to become PMP certified? It also includes all the administrative things like how much does it cost? Where do I sign up? How many contact hours do I need? What about my experience hours? So all of that, the administrative side of the PMP exam, is discussed and explained in the handbook. So you want to download the handbook and have it. Okay. And the exam content outline, the ECO, talks about what topics are on the exam. So let me go back 2 slides. So wait, only 2. There we go. So this person here who said, I have never learned or heard anything about personality indicators. If this person had downloaded the ECO, they would have found that this particular topic is actually spelled out. Personality indicators is spelled out by PMI and said, can be on your exam. So get the handbook, and the handbook will tell you that you have that you must have 35 contact hours of training to qualify. The good news here is when it comes to these 35 contact hours, that any and all project management related training from your entire life counts toward this total. So as I always say jokingly, if you had a project management course in kindergarten, it still counts towards your 35 contact hours, as long as you can still prove that you've had this. Okay. That's the good news. Okay. So based on the ECO, based on the handbook, you will learn whether or not you are eligible and what topics are on the exam. The most important one really being that you need those 35 contact hours. What if during this step you learn, oh my, I'm not eligible. What do I do now? Well, this is the point in time when you just have to be honest with yourself and say, well, okay, I do not qualify. I simply don't have the qualifications that PMI wants. This is the moment. And now you start working towards that goal. Okay. Maybe you don't have the training hours. Well, get yourself a training course. Get those 35 contact hours under your belt. Oh, I only have 32 months of experience as a project manager. You need 36. Well, that means you have to wait for 4 months and then you can apply. But if you only have, 12 months of experience, that means you need 24 more. That's 2 years. So during that time, you know what you need. You can work towards that end. Maybe you can start out with the CAPM certification instead. So it's a question of understanding whether you're eligible or not. And if you are not, then work towards that goal. But now let's assume you've downloaded the handbook, you've downloaded the ECO, you are eligible. What do you do first? Well, every project starts with a plan. It is a serious endeavor to prepare for the PMP exam, and it takes personal dedication. You need to manage your road to becoming a PMP like you would manage a project, and that includes creating a plan. Okay? What goes onto a plan like this? Your overall objective. Tell yourself, remind yourself, maybe create a charter as well, even, and tell yourself, why am I doing this? What are my study objectives? What are my weekly goals? Create a schedule, a work breakdown structure. What do I study? When do I study? So all of that is important information that you need to put into your study plan. Okay? And by the way, remember I told you in the beginning that there would be a handout that I have. And in this handout, I also include links to various articles. For example, we have a link on my website on how to create a study plan, including templates on other people's study plans that you can use as a template, as a sample, as a basis to get started from. So that handout will include links to that, so you don't have to create this from scratch. But even though you have a template, set yourself realistic goals. Just don't set the goals that other people have put into their templates. No. Do what's right for you. Don't overbook yourself, right? You work a 45-hour-a-week job. You can't study for another 45 hours. That's just too much, right? But see what worked for others. Go out there, read lessons learned, create a plan that is realistic and works for you. That is an important thing. And in this regard, I do have a couple of other recommended webinars that I have done. And here they are how to use a PMP exam simulator for exam success. That'll show you how to use a simulator and how to work with sample questions and how to apply those in your plan and in your study progress, and lessons learned from the 2021 PMP exam there on the right-hand side. This will show you how others have done it, how others have been successful, and that's going to help you a lot as well to tweak your plan and make sure that you are going in the right direction with the latest information from other people out there. And talking about lessons learned, let's move on to step number 3. And in between the steps, and here's another lessons learned, and this one is quite simple. Agile dominates lessons learned. So this year alone, I probably read about 200 lessons learned from students like yourself who have passed the exam. And based on that, it's quite clear. Agile just dominates. Everybody talks about Agile, Scrum versus Waterfall, and all that. So there's that. And here is one of those lessons learned about Agile. A general tip would be to have a good knowledge of Agile and Scrum methodologies, as well as the roles and responsibilities for players within the team. Okay. If you do not know Agile, you have to know Agile. You have to study Agile, because 50%, half of the exam, is about Agile and hybrid. And if you have no experience, if you have no education on that, you have to pick that up as you are prepping for the exam. And as soon as you start, using a simulator, you'll notice, oh my God, I don't know Agile. Okay. And that's the moment when you'll go, okay, I probably have to do something about this. But before we get to studying, I want you to do something else as step 3. I want you to become a member of the Project Management Institute. I want you to become a member of PMI. Okay. And there is a simple reason for this, right? You want to become a member of PMI, at least in the first year, right? Nobody says you have to stay a member of PMI forever and ever. At least in the year when you are preparing for your PMP exam and taking your PMP exam, you want to become a member of PMI, because that will allow you to get exclusive discounts. It makes financial sense. Yeah? As a PMI member, you will not only get a PDF version, a free PDF version of the PMBOK guide, you will also get substantial discounts on the PMP exam entry fee. Okay. In fact, the discount is bigger than the membership fee. So I think the membership fee is somewhere around $130, and the discount is above $130. So it makes sense, right? So pay the $130 membership fee, and then you are a PMI member and you get a discount on the fee. And so even if you don't want to stay a member, become a member. Becoming a member of your local PMI chapter can also make sense, okay? Because your local PMI chapter can connect you with others in the area who are preparing for the PMP exam, and you also get discounts. Occasionally, local chapters offer not just study groups, but also training. And this training is offered at a discount to members. So, yeah. That's another way how the $130 you pay to PMI will pay back themselves quite quickly for you as you are preparing for the exam. All right. So now you are a member of PMI. You've downloaded the handbook. You've downloaded the exam content outline. You have a plan. Now what? This is going to sound strange, but next I want you to apply for the exam. And I want you to apply for the exam as soon as you meet all the eligibility criteria. Okay. Why? Well, simple. If you say, well, I would like to become a PMP, that's already good, right? But I want to become a PMP, and I've already registered, and I have applied. I have set a date 4 months from now. Okay. And 4 months out, I have a date when I'm taking the exam. That is a much stronger proposition. That is going to force you to really put time aside, study, and prepare for your exam. Now, make sure that you keep an eye on the approaching date, because I believe if you want to reschedule closer than 30 days to your exam, there is a rescheduling fee. But anywhere before 30 days, it's fine. You can reschedule at no cost. Okay, so do apply for the PMP exam. Here's the link, certification.pmi.org. This will allow you to register and get everything set up, fill in the exam form. Oops, sorry. That went back, should have gone forward. There we go. And here is where you book your exam. You go to pearsonview.com/PMI. Now, PMI doesn't do the exam themselves, the actual exam. You have to go to a company called Pearson VUE. And the Pearson VUE is the company that does it. Okay, we had a question there. Shelby said, not 3,500 hours. No, Shelby, a PMI has changed that. So now the eligibility requirement is no longer based on hours. It is based on months. You have to have 36 hours at a minimum of experience, and it's not 3,500 hours as Keisha says here. It's 35 contact hours. This is the training hours, right? So it's 36 months of experience as a project manager, and you need 35 hours of training. That's how that goes. Okay. Joe says, could not afford for the cost due to the current conditions in here. Yes, that is, of course, a consideration globally, that, you know, the price for PMI's membership is quite steep. But if you think of it, you know, you pay the $130 and you get a bigger discount. So, you know, it's a question of, you have to look at it from a financial perspective. Sudeep asked, is there an option for anywhere master's degree and 24-month experience? Yes, there is a lower experience level of 24 months, but I have to admit that one is pretty new and I haven't really researched that all that much. So yes, if you look at the handbook, there is an option that if you meet certain criteria, you can do it with only 24 months of experience. That is absolutely correct, Sudeep. Okay. All right, then. Moving on. Step number 5. Get a copy of the PMBOK guide and the Agile Practice Guide. Now, this is important. These are 2 documents that you should study, but I want to make it absolutely clear. The PMP exam is not a test of the PMBOK guide. The PMP exam is not a test of the Agile Practice Guide. These 2 are just the 2 most important reference documents. If anybody tells you the PMP exam tests your knowledge of the PMBOK guide, tell them to go away. They have no idea what they're talking about. Remember in step 1, I told you to download the exam content outline? That's what the exam is all about. The PMBOK guide is just a reference document. For example, you look at the Oxford English Dictionary to understand how words are spelled in the English language. The Oxford Dictionary is not the English language. It's the same thing with the PMBOK guide. The PMBOK guide just explains what project management is all about. But project management is something else. And the exam content outline tells you what will be on the exam. Okay. That much out of the way. So where do you get this? Here you go. This is a really, really long link if you want to go to PMI. Don't worry. Don't take a screenshot of this. This is this is the long link from PMI. I have something much easier for you. Here you go. pm-prepcast.com/PMBOK. That's where you can get a copy of the PMBOK guide. If you are a PMI member, you can download the PMBOK guide PDF for free, and it comes with the Agile Practice Guide. So it is included in this. Okay. Here we go. Thierry asks, he tutors the PMP exam. I'm trying to get confirmation that highlighting the crossing question is still possible on the test. So according to my information, Thierry, yes, this is possible. So on the current PMP exam with Pearson VUE, you can indeed highlight certain words and you can strike out answer choices that you don't like. So, you know, C is totally incorrect. You can strike that out so that it goes away. That is my experience. Okay. All right. And now, if you hear talk about PMBOK Guide 6th edition, 7th edition, 8th edition, 9th edition, I would like to once again state the PMBOK Guide and the APG, the Agile Practice Guide, they are important references. They are not the whole PMP exam. So don't worry too much about whether or not the new version of the PMBOK Guide is coming, or should I use the old or the new version, because that's not all there is. PMI has published a list of 11 That's 10 plus 1, right? 11 books, reference books for the PMP exam. The PMBOK Guide and the Agile Practice Guide are just 2 of these books. If any of the other books change, do you think the PMP exam is changing? No. If the PMBOK Guide is changing, do you think the PMP exam is changing? No. If all 11 are changing, okay, maybe now the PMP exam is changing. The PMP exam is constantly changing. PMI adds questions, removes questions, new things are coming, old things are moving out. So don't worry too much about the version of the PMBOK Guide. The exam content outline is really what you need to have. Yes, study the most recent version of the PMBOK Guide so you're up to date, but if there is a transition from one to the next, don't worry too much about it. Okay, so much for the PMBOK Guide and the Agile Practice Guide. It's very important that you understand that they are not the whole thing. Now, moving on to step 6, here is another lessons learned in between. PMI is really trying to measure how much you're able to apply your knowledge in real life scenarios. This is again an indication that the 11 reference books, they're just reference books. You have to know project management as an experienced project manager, and how do you apply this to the scenarios on the PMP exam. Knowing these 11 books, knowing the PMBOK Guide, understanding the contents of the Agile Practice Guide, important, but being able to apply your theoretical and your practical knowledge to those scenario-based questions on the exam, much more important. Remember the key to success from the very beginning? You need professionally developed sample questions. That's the key to success, right? Taking your experience, taking your theoretical knowledge from all these books and studies and training courses and applying them to the questions. That's how you pass the PMP exam. Okay, so that means you need training. Get your PMP exam. Training is next, right? So once you open up the PMBOK Guide and start reading it, you'll notice that, it's not really written to be read straight through, right? This is not a study book. This is a academic book that explains what project management is all about. It's quite difficult to understand. If you get a training course, that will help you understand and put everything into place. What type of training courses are there available out there? Well, generally speaking, these 4 types of training courses that we have, okay? Lots of different ways how you could do this. Classroom courses. The advantage is, you're in person, you're right there in the classroom, group energy, and of course, scheduling is a problem. And during the pandemic right now, obviously, do you really want to be in the same room with 10, 15 people for a week? I don't know. Online instructor, you can access it from anywhere, just like you're accessing this webinar right now. The disadvantage is obviously scheduling, right? You have to be there for a 5-day class, for example, and that can be difficult for people to schedule. Then there is online and self-study. This is on demand, right? So you have a course that you can watch videos, for example, like my PrepCast. You can access it from anywhere, but it requires discipline, right? You can't just go, I'll buy this course and I'll watch it whenever. No. You need a plan. You want to make sure that you understand how and when am I going to watch this, okay? And then lastly, on your own, this is where, you just do whatever. You don't take an actual class. You just read things, you learn things, you watch videos on YouTube. You don't have a structured course that you buy. This is virtually free, but, motivation, discipline, that comes into play. In the end, you want to go for the course that suits you best and meets your budget. I mean, they go from most expensive to least expensive in this list. If you go to a classroom course, that'll be most expensive because it's in person, right? If it's virtual online, it's a little less expensive. The on-demand courses, they are at the lower end. And then, of course, on your own, virtually free because you're just watching YouTube videos there, right? There is, however, a clear trend. You choose the third option here, an online, self-paced, on-demand course, maybe one that you can download to your phone, watch on your tablet, use your mobile devices and do it that way. Okay. Moving on. If you want training from the PrepCast, then please do go to pm-prepcast.com. That is where you can buy the PrepCast training course. We also have the PrepCast exam simulator there. So pm-prepcast.com for the PrepCast training and PrepCast simulator. Sudeep says, I only see online training options with the elite package. When can I expect live classes with instructors? We have actually stopped doing live classes at this time, Sudeep. We will take those up again later in the year. So for the next 6 months, we are not offering live classes publicly. We do offer a few live classes, virtual live, for businesses, somebody who now has 15 or 20 students. We will arrange a group training with them, but we don't offer them publicly at the moment. Okay. Moving on to the next. So this was for the training. Now let's move on to the next tip. And this is a long tip here. On the exam day, I was genuinely shocked at the difficulty and vagueness of the question. Right? This person here used Rita Mulcahy's exam simulator, and let me make it absolutely clear, this is not a fault, this experience is not a fault of Rita Mulcahy. This person would have had exactly the same situation with my simulator, a PM training simulator. Many people have simulators out there. It's always the same thing. The PMP exam is a lot more vague than any exam simulator that you can get. Okay, so what is the gist of this lessons learned? Expect that when you get to the PMP exam, even though you've answered hundreds of questions, sample questions, you've used the simulator, okay, they will be extremely vague. You will be shocked, okay? So be prepared for that. Don't go in there and suddenly go, oh my God, what is going on? These questions are so vague. No, go in there going, I know they're going to be vague. I'm going to do my best. You're going to look at these questions and go, yep, exactly like I expected. Incredibly vague. I've got this. That is the attitude that I want you to have as you are taking the PMP exam going forward. Okay. Now then, step number 7. That's why we're talking about exam simulators. You want a simulator for PMP exam questions. All this training only goes so far. You need to apply your knowledge. You need to apply your experience, your studies to questions on a exam simulator. It is a complex exam. It's 4 hours long, 3 hours and 50 minutes long, and you have to answer 180 questions during that time. This is a little more than 75 seconds, something like that, per question, right? So it's quite quick that you have to read, react, choose, and go that way, right? And the PMP exam is getting harder and harder and harder. Just, this year, PMI changed 50% of the exam. It used to be only plan-driven, waterfall, and now it's plan-driven and agile. So you have to know twice as much. Really, that's the gist of that, right? And now you want an exam simulator so that you can practice on this. So, like I said, many companies out there have exam simulators. Of course, I appreciate if you buy the PrepCast simulator. Thank you very much. But I want you to buy the simulator that meets your budget and your other needs. Here's what you need to look for. First of all, you want to be able to do full exams. You want to be able to run full exams, 180 questions, 3 hours and 50 minutes in that exam simulator so that you can practice under real exam conditions, okay? It has to be realistic, okay? They have to be developed professionally and they have to be developed by a PMP team. If you have a PMP team that knows what they're doing, they will create realistic questions for you. And then the big one, they have to follow current exam policies. An exam simulator has to be updated and maintained constantly. And here we bring up the question from Dev. Do you have currently oh no, wait, wrong one. This one from Johan. Does your PrepCast include detail on Agile? Previous online level did not have much on detail. Okay, so yes, our training course has Agile. Our PrepCast training includes Agile, I think 14 or 15 hours, and our PrepCast simulator also includes Agile. So we completely cover everything that you need for the PMP exam, both in our training, the PrepCast training course, as well in our simulator, the PrepCast exam simulator. Okay. And going back to Dev's question that I brought up, do you currently have self-study PMP complete program online on your website nowadays? Yes, we do. Indeed. This is what we call the PrepCast training program. Wait, let me bring this up. Didn't I have this open here? Yeah. Here we go. I had this open in a separate window. Let me drag this over. So when you go to our website, pmprepcast.com, what you see here is our homepage. And right now, we have the PrepCast 2021 Basic. That's just the training course right here on the left. And then we have the Elite, which is training and simulator on the right-hand side. Please note that, as I'm recording this, we have a discount going on. That will go away at some point. And if you only want the simulator, then we have pmexamsimulator.com. Here we go, where we offer PMP, ACP, and CAPM simulators. So we do offer the complete course right there. Okay. Dev, thank you for saying this here, that the PrepCast simulator is the best. It's definitely good, and I appreciate that you say this. Okay. All right. This is it. This is why you want an exam simulator and what to look for in an exam simulator. Moving on to the next step, or rather in between, another lessons learned here, right? And this is one thing that somebody said about our exam simulator. They said, just like Dev said, that it's a good one. They said that our exam simulator consisted of 51% of this person's exam success. This person actually took the ACP and the PMP with us and used our simulator in both cases, right? He says, or she says, wouldn't take the exam without using their simulator. Okay, now you have everything. Okay, now you have the PMBOK guide, you've downloaded everything, you have your training materials, you have the Agile practice guide, you have a course, you have a simulator. Now study hard has to happen, right? This is the moment when you really have to get into that and do what it takes to study. So how do we do this? Well, few study tips here. Everybody does it differently. But I want you to find a quiet place to read the PMBOK guide and Agile practice guide. At the time when I was studying, my brother had an apartment close to me that he wasn't using all the time. He lived abroad. And I was able to use his apartment. So I was able to go to a quiet place. Nobody was bothering me there. And I was able to go through those books there and study those, right? You want to split your study between independent study groups and your personal study time. I did that as well. I had a study group with 3 other people. That was really fun because, everybody, every week, we assigned people and said, okay, next week you're going to present this, you're going to present that. And so we had to research the materials in order to present them. Use a variety of study aids, use books, use your training materials. YouTube videos are fine as well if you want to watch those, right? And do take notes, right? Creating maybe a brain dump. We'll talk about a brain dump sheet later on. Okay. Let's see. I did see another question here that I think is valid right now. I think this one here from Santosh. As I understand, valid PrepCast in 90 days. If the same is not yet used, does it valid intact or will it get expired? So Santosh, your question is simply this. When do the 90 days begin? Okay. So many people, let me go back here to this page right there. Many people, they do buy the PrepCast Elite, which includes both the training course and the exam simulator. And then, they do the training and all of that. All right. So they don't use the simulator from day one. That's not a problem because the 90 days that you are talking about, Santosh, that only starts the moment you take the first exam or quiz. So if you do not use the simulator, then the 90 days, they don't start. However, after a year, it will expire. So you have 1 year to start your 90 days. After that 1 year, you'll have to buy another license because the simulator is constantly changing and we can't have you not use it. All right. So that is the answer. So you want to work through your plan in this way, right? And as you are doing your studies, some of the material that you read will seem simple and easy to you, right? For example, communication. Most people say communication is easy, but procurement is really hard, right? So because we don't have the corresponding experience. So certain things go faster, certain things go slower, okay? And this is the way that this goes. And if you suffer a study setback, if things go slower, look at your plan, right? Work out what you can do to get back on track, start again, and continue your studies. Think about it. This is exactly what you would do on a real project, right? You have a setback. You figure out why that problem happened. You create a workaround. You adjust your plans, and then you start everything back up, and you continue. Make your PMP exam prep studies into a project, and follow project management best practices, and you'll get there as all. Okay. So Dev says, I have heard PMI does not want to deliver PMP in the form of self-study program of live classroom training. Okay. So yes, you're absolutely correct. If you are Dev, if you are part of the ATP program, you must deliver PMI's training live, 5 days live, no recorded, no self-study program. We have decided to leave the program, so we are no longer an ATP, which is why we are once again offering on-demand self-study recorded training. Okay. I hope that answers your concern. So we are no longer an ATP, but we follow training best practices. We are an experienced education provider. We've been doing this since 2008. All right. Step number 9, practice PMP exam questions. I can't say this enough, right? In step 7, we said you need to get access to a simulator. In step 8, you studied. And now it is time in step 9 to apply your experience, your knowledge to these exams questions. And you want to do this in 2 ways. First of all, you want to take quizzes by knowledge area, by principle, however you want to do this, right? But you want to make sure that, for example, you study something, you study cost, and then you take a quiz on cost. You study procurement, you take a quiz on procurement, right? You study risk, you take a quiz on risk. And you do that for a little while, and then you start putting in full exams, right? Okay, this Saturday, I'm going to spend 4 hours, 3 hours and 50 minutes, and I'm going to answer a full exam with 180 questions. Okay, and this is how you do this. But here comes the most important bit. Taking the quiz, taking a full exam is only half the work, because I want you to spend the same amount of time in reviewing your results. So let's say you took 50 questions, right? A little more than an hour of that 50 questions take you, okay? Now, what I want you to do at this point is I want you to spend exactly the same amount of time in reviewing your mistakes, right? You have questions that were wrong, so you need to review those in detail. Go through it, read the explanations, open up the PMBOK guide and check, why did I get this wrong? I thought I had this right. Make it so that you don't repeat that mistake. Second, there are questions where you guessed. You guessed, right? I think it's A. It could be B. Just A. Whatever, right? Now figure out, okay, I got it right, but why did I get it right? Very important. And there are questions that you marked for review. Those are the 3 ones you want to go back to and really spend a lot of time, the same amount of time, at least, in reviewing. You spent an hour in taking the exam. Now spend at least an hour in reviewing your results. Without that, you cannot move forward. Here is sort of the cycle that I want you to do. Okay, I want you to study a topic. That could be a topic from the PMP Guide. It could be one of the principles. It could be one of the performance domains. You name it. Okay. Then I want you to take a quiz that is based on what you have just studied. And remember, next, I want you to spend the same amount in reviewing it. Okay. Then I want you to study the next topic. I want you to take a quiz. I want you to review it and spend the same amount of time in doing that. And in this way, you go round and round and round and round until you feel comfortable and set in all those items that you have. So when do you know that you are ready? Well, the answer that I always give is, at least in our simulator, if you consistently get 75% correct, you are ready to go. Okay, we got somebody who has been successful here. Vignesh, hey, Mr. Cornelius, really helped me to clear the concept, achieve the PMP, all three above target. Thank you. You are welcome. Glad we could help. Remember, though, this is really your success. Yes, you used our tools, but you put in all the time. You studied. You put in the hard work. You did this here. You did this circle that I was just talking about, right? You studied. You've taken quizzes. It's your success. We just provide the tools, and you make it happen. Okay. So how do I know that this is 75%? Well, we do actually have statistics on that. After 60 or 90 days after your account with the exam simulator, the PrepCast simulator expires, you'll get an email from us that says, hey, have you passed your exam? And then you can tell us whether you passed or not, whether you passed on the first, the second attempt. And on this screen here is the statistics that we show. So this is completely anonymous based on almost 2,000 responses. And as you can see there highlighted, if you get 70 to 80% in our exam simulator correct, you have, statistically speaking, an 88% chance of passing the exam on your first attempt. Okay. And then you have a 98% chance, if you just look one column to the right there, that's plus 10%, right? You have a 98% chance of passing it in your second attempt. All right. So much for that. 75%, that's your target. Okay. Next, we have another lessons learned. The actual exam questions were a bit shorter than the ones on the practice test, but in a way, practicing longer text will make your exam feel a bit easier. This is really something that goes hand in hand with the vagueness. On the real PMP exam, questions are short and very vague. If we did this, you would complain. You would send emails and say, this is a bad question. This is a stupid question. How should I know this? This is too vague. This is impossible. Then you go take the exam. You come back and you say, you were right. This is the way that PMI has their questions. So we have to find a nice little balance of being vague, but giving you just a little bit more information that you can answer them, making the questions a little longer, not too short. So balancing this is really hard. So everybody who does an exam simulator, us and all the others in the market, we have the same problem. It's very vague, they're very short, but we have to make it so that you can actually use them without writing emails every single day and complaining. Okay. Aniket asks, are there any study materials that are arranged in as part of the exam content outline? I am not aware at this time, Aniket, that anybody has changed it or updated theirs according to the exam content outline. We are actually planning on doing exactly that. So we are planning to have a new course, a new PrepCast coming out, a PrepCast training course that does exactly that and follows that along. All right, final step, take the exam. Yes, after all this hard work, taking the exam, it almost sounds like the easy part, right? But it isn't. But there are a few things to consider that will help you make this a positive and successful experience on exam day. Get enough sleep, right? Try and get a good night's sleep the night before the exam. Being fresh, having slept enough is important. There is no need for you to stay up until 3 a.m. the night before and study for the exam. You have studied long, you have studied hard, you've got this. Please go to bed. You need to be up and ready. Oh, and talking about up and ready, by the way, if you are a morning person, get your appointment for the exam in the morning. If you're an evening person, well, get your exam in the evening. Make it so that it fits your natural body rhythm, right? You don't want to be, you're not a night owl and then you have to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning to take your exam. That won't be good, right? A lot of people even take the day off the exam off so you don't have to worry about going back to work afterwards, right? Have a breakfast, a walk, relax, that way you won't be too nervous as the exam gets going. Okay. Also, do understand the policies of the exam day. Know what you're allowed to bring to the exam center, basically nothing, or how you have to have your home office set up. Okay, this is always the very embarrassing bit. Let me show you my desk. Okay, I'm going to point this down right there. This is my messy desk. Hello and welcome. No, this is not allowed. You're not allowed to have a messy desk. It has to be completely clean, right? You have to take pictures. You have to show people when you're taking it from home. Water is allowed, but it has to be just like mine here in a see-through glass. So, no dark bottles or something like that, or no mug that you can't see through. So they have to be able to see into your container. So make sure that you understand and know all of that. And I did mention, or I did promise a note on brain dumps. Many people use brain dumps or used to use brain dumps. No more. On the real PMP exam, you now have to use a whiteboard. It kind of works like Microsoft Paint. Right, it's very similar. And I believe if you go to pm-prepcast.com/whiteboard, HTTP, by the way, not HTTPS, pm-prepcast.com/whiteboard, that will take you to the sample whiteboard. So use a brain dump as you're preparing for it. Yeah, use a piece of paper, write down your brain dump, everything that you want to have on that brain dump. Learn it, study it as a study tool. But on the day of your exam, do not try to dump anything because you're not allowed to write anything down. You have to use the online whiteboard. And it's impossible to type everything from your brain dump in to the whiteboard, frankly. Okay. Sudeep asked, are we allowed to wear a mask and take the exam? Well, if you are taking it from home, in your home office, you probably won't be needing a mask. But if you're going to the exam center, they will very likely require that you wear a mask. Contact your local Pearson VUE testing center and they will tell you definitely. All right. And now, once everything is done, you're going to sit down, you're going to click Start Exam, and now you have 3 hours, 50 minutes, and at the end, you're going to see this here. And by the way, this is something that we also learned very recently. Look how big this is, right? It's huge. On the real exam, the notice that you passed, it's really small. So you have to really look carefully to see that the congratulations message is there. Okay. So yes, congratulations. You are now a PMP. Those were my 10 steps. But I don't want to forget to tell you that that's not where your PMP journey ends. Now you are a PMP for 3 years. And during these 3 years, you have to earn 60 professional development units in order to renew, in order to recertify. The good news is no exam needed. You don't have to take any exams. You have to prove to show proof of continuing education, involvement with as a project manager, but no exam is necessary. You have to earn 60 PDUs. I don't want to go into details of all of this. Once you are a PMP, please get the CCR handbook, the Continuing Certification Requirements handbook, and learn about earning PDUs, because if you do not do this, 3 years and a day after you pass your exam, you will lose your PMP exam and you will no longer be a PMP. And then you have to start from the beginning again. Okay. And now let's review. All right. That's really it. Once again, here is an overview of the 10 steps that we talked about. The first 7 steps, they help you to understand how the exam works and how to get all the materials that you need. Step 8 and 9, these 2 take the longest, right? Because this is where you study, this is where you really practice for the exam. And then in step 10, you bring everything together and you bring everything to a successful conclusion. At the end of step 10, you are a PMP, and now you have to earn these 60 PDUs every 3 years. Okay, as a reminder, the key to success on your PMP exam is not just the studying, but more importantly, you have to practice for your upcoming exam using a good exam simulator with professionally developed exam sample questions. Do your research and buy the exam simulator that you feel works best for you. If you would like to try my exam simulator, please do stop by at pm-exam-simulator.com/free, pmexamsimulator.com/free. This is the PrepCast exam simulator, the free version. You can get 7 days access to that. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me see if there are any questions that we have here. Coolard asks, what is the average preparation time before taking a PMP exam? Roughly 2 to 3 months, Coolard. That's usually the time that people spend in prepping for the exam. Mohammed asks, do I have to spend more time in studying or practicing the simulator? I would say it's roughly about half and half, right? And actually, no, it's about 2/3 and 1/3. So 2/3 is studying, 1/3 is taking exams and reviewing your exams. Greg asks, can I extend the 90-day? Yes, we do indeed offer extensions here. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. Under the exams, it used to be here. It no longer is. Let me see, maybe on the pricing table here. We have this, there we go, yes. On the pricing table, you'll see we have 30 and 60-day extensions for all our exam simulators. So that's how you would extend that. Going back here to see if I can find anything. Yes, here we go. Thierry says certain centers still give you a marker and laminated piece of paper, but electronic only at home. This is actually incorrect, Thierry. If they do that, then they're doing it wrong, because PMI says everybody is supposed to do it the same way all around the world. Since you are not allowed to have a piece of paper at home, you're not supposed to have a piece of paper or a laminated thing at the testing center. So purely theoretically, everybody should use the whiteboard and nobody should use paper anymore. All right. At this point, allow me to finish the presentation here. In order to access the handout with all the links from today, with all the tips, all the 10 steps, please go to pmprepcast.com/10 steps. But for those of you who registered for this webinar and gave us your email address, there's nothing you have to do. You will get an email with this handout attached very shortly after this webinar here ends today. Okay. But of course, if you don't receive it, then please just go to our support page on the pmprepcast.com website and write to us and let us know that you don't have it, or you can just download it from this link. Either way works there. All right. Before I close today, let me give you the final lessons learned. This is true for no matter what exam you take. Take your time to carefully review each question. You want to understand what the question actually asks. And then, you also want to review and read the answer choices, right? And you want to make sure you do this carefully and you actually understand what is being asked and what the answer options are. But remember, you only have about 4 seconds for each question. So you have to keep a decent pace going. And this is also where an exam simulator will help you. Okay, so make sure that you fully understand the question, you fully understand the answers, and then make your choice. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me today here in these 10 steps to becoming a PMP. Again, if you have any further questions, please do put them into the chat box and let us know. We'll try to get back to you even after this webinar is over and respond to you either in the chat itself or via email, depending on how we get this. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Until next time.